What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with a pretty big Destiny 2 news update, actually with some quite exciting stuff regarding Beyond Light, and specifically some of the rewards that we're gonna see. So, in this one Bungie jump in, and they talk about changes to activity rewards inside of core playlists. We get a look at some new armor that we'll be picking up. And these are going to be some of the ritual rewards that we'll see moving forward. Also, Bungie talk about pursuit weapons coming back to the game, as well as new ornaments that will be able to be earned for those weapons in various different playlists. This is something that they spoke about vaguely a few months back. But then they've also got information about changes to playlists, adjustments to strikes, as well as Gambit and Gambit Prime, which is going to be the primary version of Gambit kind of moving forward. But we also have other updates, a new trailer, rewards and more to talk about in the video. So guys, as always, I hope you do enjoy this one, but without further delay, let's get into it. And getting straight into the TWAB stuff, initially, Bungie speak about how they'll be rolling out rewards through various activities in Destiny 2 after November. So initially, this is what we can expect on November 10th. Bungie are adding a new set of armor for the core playlists, including Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible. The armor shares a new set of geometry with decals and shaders specific to the activity, and the plan is to create new sets like this each year, and this particular set will arrive alongside the next expansion. They'll jump in immediately and show us what some of this armor is going to look like in game. So Bungie say the armor can be earned by completing activities or through vendor rank ups, and weekly challenges are also being updated to offer avenues for players to earn higher stat packages for these new armor sets. So that's pretty interesting. There'll be a way to kind of directly approach higher stat versions of the armor. But then, additionally, Year 4 will see the return of pursuit weapons. And specifically, they say our eagle-eyed guardians may recognize this beauty from a recent Stasis trailer. And so this is a new pursuit weapon. And they add that the goal is to have one of these available per season, earned through a focus quest. And Banshee will give us a choice between Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit to earn the base model. But once we finish the main quest, Commander Zavala, Shax, and the Drifter will offer you an additional quest that'll reward us with weapon ornaments to the theme of the respective activities. So on screen we can see the Vanguard skin right there for the weapon. Kind of what we'd expect from the Vanguard with those Vanguard colors, but then of course we have the Crucible version, and then a different wrapped version for Gambit. So that's kind of a preview of what they'll look like. And then Bungie go on to say, now that we've caught your eye with fancy new armor and a new sniper, let's take a look at how things are going to be changing for core activities as we launch into new adventures in November. So in Season 12, the director will be updated to reduce the number of playlists available at a given time. And that's specifically for the Crucible right here. So featured modes will consist of Control, Elimination, Rumble, and Survival, with Survival and Survival Freelance being available, and then a weekly rotator consisting of Clash, Mayhem, and Showdown. And then of course permanently private matches will be there, but with limited availability we'll see the Iron Banner, and Iron Banner Freelance is going to make its debut in Season 12, so similar to competitive, this will be a smaller node next to Iron Banner when the playlist is available. Definitely a positive for solo players there. And of course, we will also have Trials of Osiris, and they say Adept weapons rewarded to those reaching the Lighthouse are going to return to Trials of Osiris in Season 12, and more details on that functionality will come in a sandbox preview planned for October. So Adept weapons in Season 12 is now a thing. I'm pretty sure they've brought that forward as well, so that's a huge positive. And we can see an image of the updated Crucible director right there. Similarly, the Vanguard playlist director will get an update, so Vanguard Strikes and Nightfall the Ordeal will be the two playlist options, and each playlist will continue to offer weekly challenges for powerful loot, and then the Nightfall Ordeal will continue to feature matchmaking at lower difficulties and increased rewards for higher difficulty options. But they're also looking to add Adept weapons to Strikes in a future season, and they'll have updates closer to Season 13 on what to expect. So actually Strike Adept weapons apparently is going to be a thing, which is pretty exciting. Of course, something that'll happen a bit further down the road towards Season 13 perhaps, but nonetheless give us your thoughts on that one. It could be a kind of new angle on Strike specific loot or something like that potentially, so sounds pretty interesting. Now though, Bungie give us details about Gambit. So they talk about how the mode is going to be kind of evolving into one universal version of Gambit. And initially the goals were to build a more approachable Gambit Prime, keeping the one round format with a longer round, but without the Gambit Prime armor perks. And then to rebalance the moats phase to last 2/3 of each match rather than half of the match. And to speed up the primeval fight compared to Gambit Prime to give more of the feeling of a boss rush. So initially, they started with the Prime encounters, and without the Reaper buffs, the large bosses that come in enemy waves were too tanky, so we pulled them all down to mini bosses or elites. And the pacing should feel like how Gambit feels for a pickup group, or how Prime feels for a fully kitted team. They say as well that they also playtested the having motes phase, target a score of 150 and or have a heavier mote drain, but this allowed organized teams to steamroll more effectively, so we pulled back to the current Gambit Prime mote target and drain. And then for Gambit Prime blockers, they pulled the Taken Captain from the blocker lineup, as he proved a little too potent for a 10 mote blocker, and they replaced that one with a Phalanx, who can be tough to kill but not as lethal, and without the armor perks from Prime, they've decided to remove the 20 mote Giant blocker. And then they kept the invasions during mote phases at 3, just like Gambit Prime, but pulled back the minimum time between invasions during mote phases from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. And finally for the boss fight, they started with a Gambit Primeval fight, removed the time to Slayer buffs, and increased the Primeval health and potency of the Slayer buff given when killing envoys. And then they respawn the envoys every 40% damage done to the Primeval, so if you get invaded and the Primeval is healed up a lot, you have the opportunity to get more Slayer buffs and catch up. And the fight length ends up somewhere in between the original Gambit and Gambit Prime, so we adjusted the invasion timer during the Primeval phase to match right in between Gambit and Prime timing as well. So overall the mode should be a little quicker than Gambit Prime, mostly due to shortening of the boss phase and the removal of the larger bosses from the fronts. And so a few interesting changes right there for Gambit. Perhaps a little bit difficult to get our heads around without actually playing it, but of course we'll experience it in game. I'd be curious to get any thoughts from you guys though. And here we do see the much more simplified Gambit director right there, without the Reckoning and all the other options still present. So once again, give us any of your thoughts from the TWAB stuff down below. Today though, Bungie did post a new Traveler's Chosen trailer. A couple of interesting scenes in there, so if you want to check it out, here it is.
So this is how it ends. The day we've been dreading has finally arrived. The darkness is here. I need you on the front lines. Close our ranks, Guardian, and form a fist. Falls to the Guardians to protect our system. All we have left is our faith. Faith in the Traveler, faith in the light, faith in you.
Some things that players have pointed out from the trailer though, we do see Guardians reloading a gun in the tower, as well as a kind of cinematic tower landing. Some players wonder whether these could be features or things that we'd see in the expansion in November, but I would assume it's probably just for the cinematic we're seeing right here. Although Zavala does have some dialogue saying that darkness is here. I'm not sure if we got those lines in the game during the evacuation quest. I should probably pay more attention, but you never know, we could be seeing some additional cinematic content that's associated with the end of the season. Also this week though, players have been talking about the interference mission and the fact that we didn't see any progress inside of it this week. And there's a lot of players are saying it probably has been delayed a little bit due to the extended season, so I don't think we have confirmation of exactly when we're likely to see any additional stuff inside of the interference mission. There are a couple of interesting encounters and spaces that JB3 had found out of the map in the mission. So again, it does remain a waiting game, and realistically it is something that we could see as late as the end of the season. Also, Bungie this week have spoken about the fact that Destiny launched this week 6 years ago, and since then, over 167 million players have joined and logged more than 8.6 billion hours into the game. It's absolutely crazy to think how long Destiny has been around with us already. And also the kind of eras of Destiny and how memorable they are, right? Vanilla D1 and D2, but also Taken King and the Rise of Iron era. And then with Destiny 2, expansions like Forsaken and the seasonal model in between. There's definitely a lot of history and a lot of memories there. I remember in the summer of 2014, when was it? Maybe like August or something, when the D1 beta was no longer available and just having to wait weeks for the actual game to come out. I was desperate to get into more Crucible. So definitely some fun memories, but also in their Destiny birthday blog post, they do have a recipe for Destiny birthday cake and links for other new collectibles and stuff like that in there as well. So you can check that out with the link in the description if you want to. Bungie also have been posting some new lore. So this kind of pre-release lore pages that they've been putting up seem to be coming back. These ones associated with the evacuation and potentially the end of the season at some point down the road. But the new lore that they have posted has a lot of conversation and dialogue from folks in the last city. And it's interesting because some of the conversations inside of that lore include the people of the last city growing kind of tired of hearing about Guardians, but also specifically and quite interestingly, distrust around the Traveler and Zavala and some of the Vanguard. They talk about the fact that the Traveler couldn't protect us from events like the Red Legion invasion during the early stages. They also refer to Commander Zavala as a politician, rather interestingly, and some civilians appear to already be fleeing the last city in anticipation of the pyramid ship. So if you're into some lore stuff, definitely that's a pretty cool one to check out, and also I will link it below. But for today, guys, that is everything that we have to speak about in the video, so as always, give us your thoughts on any of the stuff we've spoken about. But if you've enjoyed this one, a rating below really helps me out as well. And feel free to get subscribed so I can keep you posted on the world of Destiny 2. But otherwise, I hope you have an awesome day.